Hey everyone, thank you for joining us for today's sprint review for Comet Sprint 28. This is the last sprint of this fall work cycle, which means that we'll soon schedule an end of work cycle review for stakeholders. So stay tuned for that. But for now, let's have Tamsin jump in here and tell us about the work that was done for this Sprint 28.
Great. I'm so excited about the work that happened this sprint, and I'm excited to get to show you it. So first of all, you can see my screen, yes? I'm going to start with some continued work that we've been doing on objects with multiple file sets and file sets with multiple files. And so some of this I think we'll have already seen, but also I want to be showing all of this sort of together. So this is an example of an object that was ingested with several file sets. The file sets are kind of like a mess over here, but don't worry about them. And then some of those file sets have multiple files in them. So for example, this one has a service file and a preservation file. We had done some work already to make those service files and preservation files downloadable from here. We had done some work already to make these file sets pageable. And we've sort of capped this work off now by adding the ability to download these service files and preservation files from the object view. So at this point, we feel really good about being able to ingest objects with complex file structures underneath them and be able to sort of navigate that meaningfully. So again, I can page between file sets that represent different parts of the object, and then download the various representations of the files in those file sets. In general, our expectation is sort of that a file set is only going to have one file of each use. So a file set might have a preservation file and a service file and a thumbnail, but probably not like two preservation files, two service files, and two thumbnails. So the interface that we have here is sort of I can see download service file and download preservation file. There's nothing programmatically keeping me from having multiple preservation files in a file set, except for just like low-key recommended best practice. So we also provide the file name and mouse over. So in the event that you did manage to get a file set with two preservation files in it for whatever reason, you could differentiate between them based on the name of the file itself. So download image.jpg, download demo.jpg. And again, this sort of like caps off at a longer term project over this work cycle to make file sets with multiple files more legible to end users. We also removed this sprint the download button that used to be here, because especially in this context where I do expect to be having file sets with multiple files within them, that download button was pretty ambiguous and is ultimately not useful when you have the more specific download buttons over here. Okay. Now I want to take us to what I think is the most compelling feature set that we worked on this sprint, which is batch workflow. So for some time, there has been this workflow tasks tab for, or like navbar area for users who have active workflow tasks. And the way that this page was laid out was pretty different before this sprint. And we've sort of reworked it systematically with the goal in mind of supporting batch workflow processes. So instead of having tabs here that try to represent each workflow state and did so in sort of a hard-coded way that made assumptions for hierarchs, we generalized this. So now I get this table, and I can use it like the other tables in Comet. And we added for this table the ability to filter based on workflow state. And then once I have done that, so these are all the objects in the staging site that are in the workflow state changes required. I'm going to go ahead and select them all. And then I'm going to do update workflows. Oh, that's curious. Okay, so there's maybe a little bit of legibility that we want to add here, because I think the reason why I can't update workflow states in batch for these is because some of these objects are in different workflows, but in the same state, like labeled state within those workflows. I'm gonna see if I can, yeah, okay, great. Let's see if I can get a batch that has, yes, great. So these objects were in the state changes required, and I'm going to go ahead and move them to request review and say, I think these are ready for review again. And I'm going to move them to request review. And then they go into the background to do processing to move, because if I ask for this workflow state change to like hundreds of objects, then I expect that they will take some time. But I should now see that those objects are no longer in that changes required state. And they should instead be in review amongst these many other objects that are in review. But I should also be able to sort of like grab a couple more of these, and we'll approve these ones. So the goal here was really to sort of rework this whole table to support this kind of batch processing. This is the state of things as they're merged and running now. We're doing some continued work right now. I'm not sure how much of it will get merged before the end of the work cycle today. But the real goal here is to be able to filter this table based on various facets. So one of those would be which importer these objects came in through. So if I do a batch import with 10,000 objects in it, then I can come here and select those 10,000 objects and move them all through the batch together, or filter down to those 10,000 objects and sort of see what their collective states are, so that I can manage that ingest altogether. We're also planning to add a filter for the project. So if I suppose I start a project that's migration of all my data from Alexandria Digital Research Library, then I can select all of the objects that have been imported to that project, regardless of which importer was used, and move them through workflow or manage that whole project's workflow states together. So we think that this is a very compelling feature set. There's still some work ongoing about it, but the basic infrastructure is here for. I would like to view the workflow tasks that are the objects in various workflow states that have changes that I'm empowered to make to them, select them in bulk, and make move them through workflow together. So this is what we're hoping will develop into a really robust and highly capable batch workflow engine for Comet, and we're actually I think we're so excited about it that we're very eager to shop this back to the community as why isn't this the way this tab works all the time? And I think that I'm hoping that there'll be some energy in the community around that, so that we can sort of make this something that isn't just surfliners to maintain. We have also still been working on various small UI UX fixes. Just as an example of that, the last time we looked at these tabs, you could click on them and they would actually switch, but which tab was selected wouldn't highlight, and that's been fixed. A couple of other UI type changes that are similar to that got merged this sprint. We're continuing to sort of work on polishing the UI, especially where things broke during the Bootstrap upgrade that happened at the beginning of the work cycle. Gabriella, I think I need to hand off to you now to do a batch export demo. The reason that I'm handing off to Gabriella is that batch export is working at the code level, but the infrastructure setup it seems like only so far has got done for the UCSD infrastructure stack. And we're planning to iron out the details on the UCSB side. But I have it on good authority that this works for UCSD. So Gabriella's going to show.
Welcome, Jessica. Love the hairdo. You look great.
Sorry, I'm late.
It's quite all right. We were just going to show you how exports work, Jessica.
Ooh, I'm excited. Show me.
So heading to the exporters page, we'll see that we have run a couple. Amy, Arwen, and I have been testing. So I also like that the search works very well, by the way. Amy, I can search things done by Amy. I can search, exports if I remember the name. That's why I always append GAM, because I never remember my name. But anyway, so let me show you how it works. Enter the name. I can choose metadata only or metadata plus files. In this case, I'm just going to do metadata only. I can export from an existing importer, from a collection, object type. I don't know what object type is. Tamsin, can you tell me what that is?
I think the object type is generic object or geospatial object. Like that's the class that's specified in the M3.
Great. What about all?
I think that will select all the objects in the whole repository.
Scary. Okay, for now, I'm going to select importer. And then I will select the first one of my importers. I'm not going to use the limit option. Include generated metadata, Tamsin. If I don't choose it, what will it just give me that which I included in the original importer, or is it going to?
I think that's the goal of this. I'm uncertain of how this works right now in Comet precisely.
Okay.
But the idea of this in the bulk recs engine is to export a CSV that's meant specifically for reimport, so it doesn't have the metadata that you won't be able to override in a reimport,
Right.
like system generated dates and stuff like that.
Okay, that's awesome. I'm not going to include thumbnails, and I'm not going to filter by date. Visibility, I'm just going to leave it as is. I'm not going to touch it. Status, I'm going to leave it as is too, but you see that you do have some options here. And so exports, this is what we're probably going to want to change, Samson, is make the default just.
Yeah, similarly to how we've sort of hard coded the export format, or the import format. Yeah,
because I don't want to have to click on that. I'm too lazy. So, but I will click on create an export. And it takes a little while. It doesn't take that long, but you see, here's my export. The work is pending, and you can see that there are previous exports that we did run, and I can go and download Amy's export. I can download Arwen's, my own. Let me refresh this page and see if it's done. And here it is. So I can download the zip file. And I'm assuming it's downloading the zip file because there's the option to download the images as well.
Yeah, I think that's the idea. That,
okay.
Like, this might be a large package that contains a number of different object types.
Okay, so it's still downloading. Why would it take so long? Okay, let me share. Uh-oh. There it is. Okay, so here's the CSV with all of the elements listed here. I don't know if you want to see it in a Excel spreadsheet, if it's easier to see. Maybe I'll show it that way. Let me share this. You share Excel. There we go. It's a little easier to see. So it spit out my two records that I had with the file set as well, and then my header elements here.
Gabriella, I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm just seeing a blank book 1.
Okay, well, here, thank you. How about that one?
That looks amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, and the output is there. I think there was a question from Amy earlier when we were testing this, if we could somehow choose the order of how the exports list our element and headers, the values, and we'll talk about that at some point as a future enhancement if that's possible. But that is exports. Is there anything else that you wanted to point out?
About export? No, I think that's great. Thank you so much.
Okay.
I do want to say also that on the Comet side, we've continued to work on the configurable metadata support during this work cycle and during the sprint in particular. And that's involved sort of ongoing back-end work to the Surfliner schema gem, and the main outcomes from that work that are either done or imminently done are the support for date labels, complex dates. That's been priority for on the UCSB side for ADRL backwards compatibility support, and then also we're hoping to merge in some changes that will make it possible to do configurable metadata for collections. So currently you can ingest complex metadata for collections, especially from the batch import process, but the actual collection schema is hard coded and very limited. Like, I think it just has a title, and we're moving towards making it so that collection metadata is configured by the M3 files the same way as other types of classes, other resource classes within Comet are. So that I think is very compelling, and the Surfliner schema gem that powers that is getting quite a bit more mature over as we've worked on it work cycle over work cycle. That's all that I have on the only Comet side, but I think that I want to hand it off to Alex and Amy just to talk a little bit about what happened between Comet and Shoreline this spring.
Yeah, so we made some good progress in importing geodata. Amy's sharing her screen, and we'll kind of talk through what's going on. I was going to demo, but my environment got a little messed up, so hopefully we will have at least be able to show you kind of the flow that we've gotten from Comet to Shoreline. So let's see. Amy, did the ingest complete successfully?
It looks like 2 of the 3 have completed. So
Oh, does it still say pending on there?
4 have processed, 1 is still in queued.
Okay.
And I bet that's the largest one.
If you it says complete though, so if you click on it, what do we see?
Okay, they're all done
Okay.
now. Perfect.
So are they all showing up in the objects list?
They are.
Looks like it. Okay, so we've ingested objects into Comet and they are persisted there, but we want to publish them to Shoreline. So thanks to Longshoe, we have a way of doing that as a batch. Previously, you had to kind of publish one object at a time. So now if you go to workflow tasks, Tamsin pointed that out earlier, the batch procedure, we can, oh wow, there's a lot of objects.
Yes.
Yeah. Is there a way of, have we able to sort this section yet, or is that still?
You can't yet filter by importer or by project.
Yeah, we can look at, I think it should be in review is the status of these. Hopefully that won't be too many. It is too many.
It's all of them.
Will they be at the end of the list or at the beginning of the list?
Somewhere in the middle.
Or just
scattered throughout.
Lovely.
This is why we want more filters on this table.
Yes.
And then selecting, clicking on select selects all objects or just the objects on this page?
I think that it only selects the objects on this page, Gabriella.
Okay.
Do we just want to do one of them, Alex?
Let's just move a couple of objects through.
Yeah, once we find,
I think that's good for the demo.
Okay, so yeah, there's been a few issues we've noticed publishing very large objects. So fingers crossed that this doesn't time out. And this is in staging, so hopefully it should have the resources to handle it. We've been working on delegating more of the tasks to background processes so that you don't get stalls in the browser. But let's see if this went through. Hey, there she is. And there's the overlay. So yeah, this is what an example of a geotiff. We're still working on some of the other objects. We're seeing issues displaying this overlay, but this is one of the ones that works. And so previously we only had the kind of shape files, and now we've got raster data as well. So very exciting. Is there anything you wanted to add, Amy?
And I think that was the ability to republish of unpublish. So if we wanted to change this,
Right.
you could unpublish the object. It would maybe take a minute to disappear. From there, that was pretty quick. And then if we wanted to go back and edit, and let's just change the title to today's date. Save changes. Then we should be able to go ahead and republish. Let's see, this should probably work, but let's just go.
Does it have a different arc now?
I think it still keeps the same arc.
Okay.
Yeah, I hope that it keeps the same arc.
Yeah, so it's
Neat.
republished with the new
Nice.
title.
Yeah, so that was something that Matt Critchlow got for us, because at least in testing we were frequently unpublishing an object, and then we didn't have an easy way of republishing it due to limitations in our existing workflows. So we may in the future, the unpublish button that on those that isn't linked with each individual workflow that we define for our object life cycles, we may work at integrating that more cleanly so we don't have to have a separate republish job. But for now, this works.
Cool. That's amazing. So yeah, so that's what we've been working on this sprint. Gabriella, do you have anything you want to say to wrap us up? Do we have any questions?
We normally, well, I think we don't have any, let's see. Actually, we do have a group of 13. I don't know if anybody has questions. Do you want to hold till after we stop recording? Either way, we're okay about that, but good work. I think this was a really solid work cycle. Incredible, like you said, Tamsin, the word for today is compelling. There was just a lot of excellent work done that we can actually see by the team. So kudos to you all. And I'm going to stop recording so that we can see if anybody has questions.